Good morning. How the devil are you doing this fine day? Hope you're all fit and well. You'll have to forgive me if I'm a little bit croaky today. You'll also have to forgive me if I yawn a bit during today's episode. I mentioned yesterday I was heading up country, top secret mission. I was actually going to Birmingham for a surprise retirement party for my mate John Woodward, my mate, co-author, various other bits and pieces. And it was a great bash, actually. I was actually there to give a speech about John, which I did, but the evening was really memorable. Not because of my speech or for John's surprise when he walked through the door, although that was well worth it. The evening was memorable because there were so many great people in the room. There's a photograph taken by Adrian McLean, Armac, who was one of the great people in the room. You can see I'm stood there with Terry Cornby and with John Woodward himself, Howard Button tucked away, top left, and Vernon Kay, currently not Vernon Kay, Vernon Watson rather, who is the current IDU president in the pink shirt to the far right. Yeah, really was a fantastic job. Also worth noting, I think, that the evening was arranged by Mike Keogh, who has been on the show, and by the team at C&D. Did an awesome job. Quite how they managed to keep it a secret from John, I've no idea. I'm still questioning whether John will ever actually retire entirely, but I'm glad they gave him the great send-off that they did. Now, as I said, I gave a speech last night. If you'd like to read it, you can do so. Read it using the link that I'm just about to post in the chat. You should be seeing that now. It's over on our Demolition Insider website, but if you can't see the link, just go to demolitionnews.com. It's currently the lead story there. Just click the link at the bottom. Now, as I got back home at 2:00 this morning, I think it's best if I just roll the intro, post the question of the day, and try to get this show on the road. Here we go. I apologise in advance. I've just posted the wrong question of the day. I'll do the right one in just a second. I got in at 2:00 in the morning. What can I tell you? It is Friday, the 10th of November. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony. In today's show, Devellon enters the European dozer market, as we predicted previously. How a chance encounter led to an Australian contractor to buy a Kobelco machine. Prepare for takeoff as we visit a US contractor who is maintaining an airport using a Hyundai fleet. Plus, we're putting in a shift with a Caterpillar backhoe, which will make sense in just a moment. But first, we're going to peer back through the mist of time to see what was happening on this day in history. On this day in 1871, Henry Morton Stanley encountered explorer David Livingstone near Lake Tanganyika in Central Africa, and he greeted him with the immortal words, "Dr. Livingstone, I presume." I think that story would have been so much less impressive if he'd just gone up and said, "Watch your cocker." Not enough sleep. In 1885, German engineer Gottlieb Daimler, yes, that Daimler, unveiled the world's first motorcycle. In 1917, Lenin suspended the freedom of the press during Russia's October Revolution. Funny that, there's a few people in this industry that would like to suspend the freedom of the press in this day and age. In 1960, an uncensored version, or can you imagine the flutter, an uncensored version of D.X. Lawrence's Lady Chatterley's Lover finally went on sale in the UK. In 1969, I can't believe it's that old, Sesame Street premiered on US television, and in 1990, the movie Home Alone premiered in Chicago. And what Christmas isn't complete without watching Home Alone once again, complete with Joe Pesci and the Wet Bandits. Now, before we get into the real meat of the show, I'm going to show you the real question of the day. Yes, today's real question comes once again from our resident quizmaster, Mr. Gary Muirhead. And his question is this: what is the worst job you have ever had? I don't have too many to choose from because I've been doing the same one for about 35 years. However, when I was 18, I worked in the accounts department of a contract furnishing company for about a month. Felt like a year. I was bored on the first afternoon and I stayed that way right up until the day that I left about 5 weeks later. But what about you? What is the worst job you've ever had? I will update the question of the day in the chat in just a moment, but we'll come back to that at the end of the show. But now let's get into the real meat of things, shall we? And we start with the news that just as we suspected, those fine folks at Demolition have officially entered the European dozer market. As I was driving up to Birmingham for what seemed like about 14 hours yesterday, I left our resident AI news anchor, Demolition, to get to the bottom of the story. Good morning, Demi.
Thank you, Mark, and good morning, everyone. As we speculated previously, Demolition has entered the European dozer market with the launch of the new DD130 model. The machine is powered by a fuel-efficient diesel engine developing 117 kilowatts of power. The machine has an operating weight of 15.5 tons and has a top speed of 9 kilometers per hour. According to the manufacturer, one of the biggest differences between the DD130 and other dozer brands is the visibility to the machine's dozer blade. To facilitate this, the front engine compartment offers a narrower design to make it easier for operators to see their work. Other aspects of the DD130 that provide optimum visibility include: the pre-cleaner is tucked away in the engine compartment. The electronic cooling system has been relocated to the rear of the machine. The cab's low-profile front pillars provide maximum glass area, and the all-glass doors provide a full view of the working environment. For further visibility and safety, a standard rear-view camera provides operators with an additional view of the dozer's surroundings. A 2D grading system makes precision grading easier, even for novice operators. The operator programs the needed inputs, and the machine controls blade functions to finish the job faster and with better accuracy. No GPS or lasers are required. The DD130 comes standard with an electronically operated tilting cab that provides access to internal components. The dozer undercarriage is designed for convenience and cost-effective maintenance. A telematics system is a standard feature on the DD130 dozer, making it easy for customers to remotely monitor and maintain their machine.
Yeah, now I'm just going to go back to Dan Cullen says that looks a tidy dozer. It is. I've seen that DD130 in the flesh, and it really is a very smart little tool. I saw it at ConExpo, and there was talk at the time there is a smaller version, the DD100, which they were saying is not suitable for the European market. But there were hints at the time that it could well be the DD130 coming. And lo and behold, here it is. Gary Muirhead points out that it looks a lot like the Komatsu D51. I totally agree. Ken Hatcher, sounds like she likes the dozer. Listen, I just type the words. I don't know how she presents it. Slim and Sleek says, Dan Cullen. I'm not entirely sure if he's talking about the dozer or about our friend Demi. Glenn Johnson's just joined this morning. Glenn, thank you very much indeed for being here. And apologies for the confusion over the question of the day. It was a long night. And Andy Bullock says, let's hope it doesn't shake the operator as bad as the Doosan excavator does while tracking. Interesting point. What is interesting also is obviously we saw the DD130 at ConExpo 2023 this year, 2023. The previous ConExpo, which obviously was 2020, you might recall Dresster had that dozer on display there. It was one of the stars of the show. Has anyone seen one in the wild yet? Is it a real thing, or did it only ever become a prototype? If anybody knows any better than I do, please let me know. Andy Darvell says, good looking dozer. That being able to see the blade, and I bet a lower price point than its competitors. I think we'll start seeing them in the UK. Yeah, I wonder if we will. I mean, one of the things that I've actually got written down here was, will it have enough about it to ruffle the feathers of the more established brands? Obviously, Caterpillar and Komatsu have a bit of a stranglehold on the UK dozer market, but that lower price point, plant hire, you never know. Let's have a look. I can see the dark glasses are coming in handy today. The bags under my eyes have bags. That's how bad it is. Worst thing is, listen, I don't suffer for my art. Obviously, I just sit here and talk. But I was given directions and a code. There was an RMAC demolition site not a million miles away from where we were. We were at the Grand Hotel in Birmingham, and I was told it's about a 8-minute walk, something like that. And I went the wrong way. So I ended up walking about half an hour in very soft soled loafers. My feet are absolutely killing me this morning. I can't walk in flats. I need heels. People. Which probably says more about me than I need to. Right, should we crack on? I think we should.
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
Right, next off, we are heading down under to meet a contractor who was on his way to buy one excavator, but who ended up buying a Kobelco machine instead. Now, I'll tell you now, this video is, what is it? It's 9 minutes long. It's quite a long one, but it's a good one. The guy's brilliant. The story behind it is absolutely brilliant, but it also allows me to drink some coffee. So while you're enjoying this, that's what I'm going to do.
My name's Shane Abernathy. I'm the owner of Abernathy Haulage. I do a lot of work with my brother, which is Croydon Contractors, hence the name on the digger. I was on my way to go and sign up for a new digger, which I'd done my homework on, pretty happy, knew what I wanted. A friend of mine said to me, hey, drop into Kobelco and Takanini and have a look. And I said, yeah, okay. So I went in there. I walked in the showroom and saw a digger that I really liked, and it ticked all the boxes that I wanted to. The salesman was great. So we did the numbers. The next day, I basically signed up and said, yep, that's what I want. They fitted me with all the extras and nothing was a problem, and really, really impressed. So I'm happy today with what I've got. A good little feature which they have is different operating styles for the levers. The old school way was quite different to the ISO, which they have a standard operation now. Overseas, they do things different, sort of like backhoe operation, but this here, you just turn the lever and it gives you some options as opposed to the standard one, which is a really cool feature. Yeah, it's really roomy in here, so easy to get at, accessibility for diesel, filters, everything else, and it gets a nice flow through the motor to keep everything cool, whereas a lot of machines are very tight and compact, and they tend to get quite warm in the heat of summer, so it is a great feature. Another great feature which I found, I was quite surprised because normally I use a DeWalt electric grease gun, which is pretty good, and the top of the line grease, but they have this grease gun that's fitted in here, but the great thing about it is this cartridge that they use, it's Kobelco, so it's the same colour as the machine, and when you're finished with it, that's what you end up with. So it's really a clean way of doing it, and if you're greasing every day, it certainly makes a hell of a difference. So I'm convinced I'm sort of going to try this for a while. I'm very impressed with it. The other good feature is they have a screen in here where normally all the grass and dust and bits and pieces gets jammed into the actual radiator, and you've got your air conditioning and your coolers, so everything gets jammed in there. But with this new screen they've got, it's pretty impressive. You can pull it out, wash it down, blow it down, whatever you want to do to it, pop it back into place. Very simple, push it in, done. This is a great feature which I have to have on any machine I've got, because I get into those really, really tight spots and tricky footings and so on and so forth, whereas a big machine, the arm's up here. A small machine can do a big machine's job, but a big machine can't do a small machine's job. So that bendy boom gets me into those real tricky places. This is probably one of the biggest machines that does this style of thing. Hence, that's why I sort of went towards it. So yeah, very, very useful, especially to be able to do big jobs and little jobs. This sort of thing is the thing that makes the difference. Kobelco fitted this. They fitted it with all the brackets. I asked them to put this braided coating over the top so that it didn't scratch or whatever on the machine, and they obliged with no problems at all, and it's absolutely fantastic the way they've done it. You couldn't ask for better. Yeah, this is a feature which most machines have to have on now for health and safety. It's a approach light which does the green and the red. These were the lights that I wanted, the LED ones. Kobelco made a bracket to fit up there to fit that particular light. It didn't cost me any more, and really, really happy with the way they've done it. Another thing that sold this machine to me was the size of the cab. The cab that they have is the same size as what would be on a 30-tonner. And I've always been in smaller cabs for smaller work, but this one has all the luxuries, the big 10-inch monitor there, phone holders, drink holders, and very, very comfortable. All the levers, operating areas can be adjusted higher or lower. Another good feature for us old boys is we have a heated seat, and it is air suspension seat, so that's a real plus. And obviously the other things that are really good on it is plenty of outlets for air conditioning and that, so you keep really, really cool. All my machines have got tinted windows to keep the heat out. This monitor is bigger than any of the ones I've seen in diggers. The cool feature with it is it's got 3 cameras. I didn't realise that it had the 3rd camera until I washed the machine and found another one, which was really, really cool. You can swap different angles that you want just simply by pushing a button here, pushing a button there. Gives you 3 or 4 different options which side you need for wherever you're working. It gives you plenty of options. You've even got Eagle Eye, which is over the top, which gives you a full surround. So that is something which is really, really good. There is other options here, which we can go to home. I'm still getting used to it. Now, another cool thing here is rabbit or turtle, and this thing is really, really fast in rabbit, a lot faster than most machines I've been in, and I think it does about 5 kilometers an hour or something. So you've got that. Then you have another option here, which is for your power. So S is standard, which I normally use because it's nice and smooth. If you're really loading out and you really want to move some dirt, H is the one. It sucks a little bit more fuel, but certainly very, very fast. Keeps up with sort of like 12 tonners and that with the speed of it. So that's quite impressive. You've got your auto idle. And another cool feature is the boys from Kobelco come in and adjusted some pressures for me the other day. I said I wanted that speeded up and that slowed down, and it was not a problem, and it just made my life so much easier and smoother. Really, really impressed with that. So there's a lot more features there, but hey, I've only been in it 150 hours, so I'm still learning. It's like a toggle, so you've got your movements sideways, backwards, forwards. Once you choose your thing that you want, push it down, it locks it in, and windscreen wipers, windscreen washers, speed, home, everything, it's all there on that one little panel, which is really, really, it's pretty advanced. So this is another cool feature, which is the phone holder. Usually you have a phone, you've got to find somewhere to stick it in the cab, and usually the power point is miles away, so you've got cords going everywhere. But this particular one they've designed, the cord slips in, drops into the bottom, push it in, it's there. It runs through the stereo, so the stereo speakers loud and clear, and a good size drink holder, cup holder, whatever you have. Most machines have a certain size, and usually the cup you've got is the wrong size, so that was all a plus. So this is my office, and it is the bee's knees. I'd certainly encourage anybody else to go and have a look and check apples with apples, because it's a great machine. Really impressed.
And to think that came from a chance encounter. On his way to buy one type of machine, saw the Kobelco, loved it. Looks like Kobelco have been doing some really cool features, and even little things like the way that the iPhone holder works, room for your cable. Fantastic stuff. I'm going to go back to the chat because lots of people saying nice things about that. Ken Hatcher says, wow, interesting grease cartridge. Yeah, I realise it's a tiny thing, but it does go to show. I think it really illustrates the fact that Kobelco are thinking of everything. The cup holder, the iPhone holder, the grease cartridge. Somebody else said, there's Dan Content, interesting grease cartridge system. Andy Darvell, like the radiator screen. Yeah, it's not the biggest thing in the world. It's not a life changer, but pretty good. Gary Muirhead says the bars on the window are a pain in the ass. It's like being in jail all day. Well, Andy Darvell, tell him about being in jail all day. Not that he's been in jail all day, as far as I know, but as a high reach operator, looking through bars is pretty much his job. I like the way the pipes bend around the bucket coupler. Totally agree. Yeah, Ken Hatcher picked up on the fact that it was operating with dark glass, and I questioned, literally as he was about to say it, I wonder if the dark glass is an Aussie special. Turns out it is an Aussie special. I don't think we need it over here, particularly today. It's almost dark outside my front door at the moment. Graham Footy Williams has just joined us as well. Nice cab. Kobelco is burning hot little machine. I totally agree. I mean, I'm a Kobelco fan anyway, but it really is a smart little tool. Not seen that glass on UK machines. No, I think we'd be like working in semi-darkness. Lovely looking machine. Loving the tinted glass. Finally, a manufacturer is making small machine cabs like big machine cabs. Ain't that the truth as well? And Gary Muirhead says, looks smooth on the hydraulics. One of the things that reminded me of, I used to work many moons ago, over in Shepperton, and I was driving home one evening in my car, and it was at the time, and I don't know how this will date it, I can't remember what year it was, but the Nissan Primera car had just come out, and I was driving past a Nissan garage, and I saw one. I thought, I'll go and have a look. So I went in there, and that's a smart looking car, and he gave me the spec and everything else, and I left about 20 minutes later having bought one. I'd only stopped to have a look, but yes, I ended up driving a Nissan Primera. In fact, I had two of them. I think I had one for a couple of years, sold it back to them, and bought another one. Quite like that. So, should we crack on? I think we probably should. Well, we've just been to Australia. Now it's time to head on over to the United States of America to check in on one contractor who has seen his company grow and expand off the back of his relationship with those fine folks at John Deere.
I purchased the John Deere 50 from a local rep, Joe Hubler, back in 2007. We demoed it, and within 2 or 3 days, we were signing papers. Now everything I own is Deere. We started with a little office in our laundry room, and I'd work all day. We'd go home, do estimates, do billing at night, and just get up and do the same thing. I still have my original employee from 2007, Colby. He's been with me since day one. When I had one Mini, he always says to me, look what you've done in the past years. You've grown this huge business. I'm like, yeah, we did, buddy. We did. You know, we have about 26 employees and growing with Deere. I enjoy that. And having a relationship with them is very big for me.
I remember the first skid steer we purchased showing up in the driveway and the reality of it all kind of hitting. And we had just built a house and we had the hopes of having a family of our own. So it was very nerve-wracking to think about what we were taking on. We do pride ourselves on relationship with our clients. You definitely have to be able to set yourself apart from the other companies to make sure that you maintain those relationships with your clients.
I don't think I ever will own anything but Deere's. The quality of the product, how comfortable it is top notch. The biggest thing for me with Deere is the people you meet along the way. Just amazing people, good, hardworking American people. That goes a long way for me. My local dealer, he's a stand-up guy. It's what you feel comfortable with. To me, that is someone that you trust. And trust and family are a big thing for me. Oh, he's a little crazy. He likes to talk, but he's a great guy. He loves his job. He loves what he does. And he loves Deere. He knows everything about him.
My job is a relationship business. And it all starts the first time you just show up on a job site and say, hi, I'm Joe, and I sell John Deere equipment. From there, there's a lot of trust building. And quite frankly, Greg and Jen are my friends.
He picks up the phone. If you leave him a message, he calls you back. If you have a problem, he's very attentive to it. He also has a great personal side where he's knowledgeable about who your family is, what your children are doing, what's going on in your lives, which is nice, not to just have a cut and dry relationship about a piece of steel.
Yeah. Excuse me. That's still not cleared it. That's better. You get the impression John Deere really has looked after that guy over the years. That's how you build brand loyalty. The fact that he actually said, don't think I'll ever own anything else. We are going to be going over to the state, or staying in the States actually, in just a moment. But I do need to throw over to the chat very quickly. Footy Williams said that he's had a message back from Gilpins. Not sure what they're going to do with him. May use him for holiday cover. It'll be something, Footy, so keep your fingers crossed for you, my friend. Dan Cullen says, good girl on the shovel. If anyone can, Deere can. But this is probably going to be my comment or quote of the day. We were talking about bars on cabs, and Gary Muirhead said it must feel like working in prison. And I pointed out that that's kind of how Andy Darvell spends half his working life. And he came back with, welcome to Demolition, Gary. I feel vulnerable when I'm sitting in a cab without bars. I feel a bit like Hannibal Lecter when I'm sat in my cage. Right. So while Andy Darvell goes to enjoy some fava beans and a nice Chianti, and I'm not going to do the sucky thing, while he's off doing that, let me roll one of these, I think.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
I want to pick up on something, and this is just a weird coincidence. So I'm going to say goodbye to Ken Hatcher because he's on his way back to work. Ken, have a great day, have a great weekend. Thank you for joining us, my friend. Andy Darvell says, looks like another great company. Where are they all in the UK? Now, do you know, interestingly, I kind of, it just dawned on me that I was getting lots of information through from equipment manufacturers with their videos and their press releases and all that kind of thing. But I was hearing remarkably little from demolition companies. Still getting their press releases and their announcements and everything else, but not much in the way of video. So I went through and I had a look at, all of the big names in demolition on their YouTube channels. And some of them literally haven't updated their YouTube channel in 3, 4, and even 5 years. This is how the industry works now. When you look at people like AR Demolition, the videos that they're producing, Armac Demolition, Chris Charlton over at CJ Charlton, they are actually actively promoting themselves using video. And yet the big boys, not so much. Not so much. Where was I going with all this? I don't know. I've kind of interrupted myself. Let me get rid of that comment off the screen. But you're dead right, Andy. Where are all the great business stories here in the UK? We need to go and find a few, I think. I said we were going to stay in the States, and I meant it. But this time we're off to the airport, actually, to see how a US contractor has put his faith in all things Hyundai. I haven't watched this right the way through, but I'm going to guess he probably pronounces it Hyundai. We'll see.
My name is Mark Sipple. I'm the maintenance supervisor at the Beaver County Airport. My duties here are maintaining all the equipment purchases, attachments for the equipment. I maintain the runway and taxiway in the winter times. There's multiple uses that I have for a loader, and that one specifically is for snow removal. It's got a 16-foot snow box on it that's articulating so I can angle it, and it's not too big and crazy for the airport, but it's like the perfect size. When I was looking for equipment, I went through highway equipment, and that's how I met Matt. And we were going over different pieces of equipment to use. I rented the HL 930A. It was a perfect fit, perfect size. I can get any attachment I want for it. It's just all around an awesome piece of equipment. It's easy to operate, it's easy to drive. I can maintain it myself. All the grease fittings are easily accessible. Highway equipment does all the maintenance on it. It's still under warranty, so I can give them a call. Within a day, I have someone down here, or they run a diagnostic through the computer. It's been great. It's just easy to operate, easy to drive. The quick attach, I can change attachments, and it's user-friendly. I can teach my guys how to use it so that work can still get done without me being there. As far as the cab goes, it's super comfortable. It's spacious. There's a lot of room in it. The seat is high quality. When you're in it for 8 or 9 hours, you know, you're not sore back or anything. The air ride is set up perfectly in it. When we went through highway equipment, they worked with us through Sourcewell, which was greatly appreciated with all the help that they put in and the time to get us approved for the grant and get the machine delivered to us as quick as possible. They always take care of us, no questions asked. I've never had any problems, any delays. They're a great company to deal with, and it's great that they carry the Hyundai product. Hyundai is the doer's dream, loved for the features, trusted for the performance.
Building a comfortable tomorrow.
Great film. Great contractor. Love seeing how companies operate overseas. But like Dan Cullen, I was immediately drawn and tickled by the fact that he was working at Beaver Airport. And Dan Cullen says, could you imagine saying, I live in Beaver? There was a time in my youth when I desperately wanted to live in Beaver, but that's a whole other story. I think we need to move on with a bit of this.
If you would like to buy a limited edition Break Fast show sticker, head on over to buymeacoffee.com/demolition news/extras.
And we're going to play out today by making a bit of a shift. In this instance, it's a side shift.
The side shift itself has been key for us. We were looking at a side shift machine. We were looking at another brand originally. I wasn't even aware that Caterpillar had something like this. Over in England, and they make some. We looked at it and looked at the ratings and the pricing and co-op, and it fit. It's awesome on the road doing utility work without shifting traffic and trucks and moving the lane again. We can just side shift the backhoe, work on either side of the utility we're on. Really helps with that.
With the side shift, I can shift the boom, and at the most I shift the machine 6 inches. When you're in the road, I don't have to take up more than one lane with it. It's invaluable for that.
It's fantastic for utility work with the side shift. The side shift machine, by its nature, outriggers themselves go straight down. It has a nice narrow footprint, minimizes traffic disruption, which, being in North Jersey, is number one.
Going down the road with a standard backhoe, the boom stays straight out the back, and it starts to gallop. This machine is very balanced. It puts more of the weight forward now, and you don't get that gallop when you're roading the machine. Display screen is very good. It's easy to understand. It's all touchpad. Takes no time to figure it out. It's very intuitive. The seat's air ride. You can adjust the height. The lumbar support is good. Very comfortable machine. At the end of the day, the pilot control, there's less fatigue on your hand and stuff because you're really just moving your wrists. The minute you move, things move. And there's no lag. And the quick connect bucket attachment works well. And the machine overall is very comfortable and has quite a bit of power for its size. It's just good. I can't say anything else about it. It's just good.
One of the biggest advantages to the CAT product is minimum of downtime. Foley keeps us stocked with parts. There's no other brand that can match that. Being in government, you know, making sure the taxpayers get the most value for their dollar, have a good quality machine that's well built, that's going to last the 25 years we're looking to get out of it.
The side shift boom it's a game changer with what we do.
Not new exactly, particularly here in the UK, but I know that someone, I think it was Dan Cullen actually, earlier this week when we were talking about the Mazzio attachment, the backhoe attachment for skid steers and compact track loaders, he was asking about the side shift. That triggered in my mind, hence the reason we bought that. One of the things that struck me about that was, bearing in mind, Caterpillar, huge American brand, but the backhoe loaders are manufactured here in the UK, up at Desford. And Desford, obviously, because UK market, we like a side shift. We love a side shift here. And they've then sold that back to America. Just globalization in action. Don't the stabilizers normally fold down in the American backhoes? That's why the UK ones are better for working in tight spaces. I don't know the answer to that question. I will go and take a look. Let's have a look. Graham Footy Williams says they make JCB makes a track version of that. Jim Turner says finally they've copped on. Yes, America. Look at the UK. I realise that you all decided to bugger off and leave some years ago, but we do some very good things over here. You should pay more attention. That pretty much wraps up the main part of today's show. Wraps up the week as well. I'm going to roll the outro in just a second before leaping gazelle-like over into the chat to see what you're all saying today and to find out about the worst jobs you've ever had. Didn't see too many coming through, but I wasn't fully paying attention. So if you can't stick around, please stay safe. Look after yourself, your family, your friends, and your colleagues. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. I'll be back here on Monday. But if you do have the time and the inclination, stick around because I'll be back with the Craic after this. Good morning, one and all. How are we doing? I am feeling a bit croaky. Far too much talking last night. I mean, I know I talk for a living, but yeah, we got into it last night. Great to catch up with, obviously with John Woodward, with Mike Keogh, with Adrian McLean, but fantastic to catch up with Terry Gormby, who was on superb form last night. Superb form. In actual fact, he may well have inspired my column for Monday morning. Yes, great to catch up. And Terry actually said we need to arrange to get him back on the show. I think that's a fantastic idea. So I'm going to be setting some dates with Terry and hopefully the surgery will return. How about that? Watch this space. Dan Cullen was in like flint today. He was first off the mark. Good morning, Dan. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. How the damn are we on this fine day? It's like the end of the world out here at the front of my house. Oh, excuse me. It's blowing a gale, pissing with rain, and it's dark as well. It's bloody horrible out there. I'm going to stay exactly where I am. Andy Bullock has joined us again. Andy, fantastic to see you here. Thank you very much indeed for joining us, my friend. Hope you're having a good day. Hope you have a good weekend as well. Gary Muirhead, our question master, says, good morning, Mark. Good morning, gang. Happy Friday, everyone. Do you know, bizarrely, I had about 4 hours sleep less than I normally have last night. Woke up feeling remarkably chipper. Maybe I'm sleeping too much. Maybe that's what it is. And I'm going to apologise very quickly. When Andy arrived, I wished him good morning, typed it too quickly, and I apparently wished him God morning. God morning to you, Andy. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Let's have a look. Ken Hatcher has got cloud and sun, and cloud and sun, and cloud and sun. Typical day in Wales. Mark Whiting's here as well. Morning, Mark. And Andy Darvell summing up pretty much how we all feel. I think, woohoo, he says, it's Friday. Glad it's here. Glad it's here at long last. Yes, I gave a speech in tribute to John Woodward. Very, very straightforward job to do because I really like the guy. He's been a great friend and a great mentor to me over the years. And a part of the speech, I actually mentioned the fact that for a good period, John was my moral compass. Every once in a while, I would write something that I considered to be particularly contentious or controversial, and I would send it to John saying, what do you think? And on a lot of occasions, he said, no, it's fine. It will upset people, but it's factually correct. On other occasions, he'd phone me up and say, you best not. There is a little corner of my hard drive that contains articles that John Woodward said, you probably better not do that. It may dig out a few one of these days. I don't know. Maybe I won't. Wow, I can now see Mr. Muirhead in the chat. I didn't realise you were having problems with that. I then posted the wrong question of the day. We'll come back to that in just a second. Ken Hatcher says, I thought you were up late messaging me at 2 a.m. Yeah, 2 a.m. was literally as I walked through the door, and I had a bunch of messages and stuff. And I thought, I actually put the kettle on, thought, I'll make myself a cup of tea, sit down, answer a few messages, and then I'll go to bed. And I sat there for about 20 minutes. The tea never got made because I found myself drifting off to sleep. So apologies for messaging you at 2 a.m. It seemed like a perfectly reasonable thing to do. Let's have a look. Jim Turner's here as well. Morning, Jim. How are you doing today? I have a little treat in store coming up, courtesy of our friend Jim. You might recall that we've had a couple of offers of, I don't know if they're theme songs or tribute songs or what they are. Chris Ford went away and made one with him singing. Damn fine it was too. Jim Turner promised that he had a friend who had a music studio and he was going to do something. He's done it. I do need to have a bit of a play. The version that I've got through, it's quite raw. So I'm going to see if I can tweak the audio just a little bit, just to make it a little bit clearer. But I'll be bringing that to you next week. But thank you very much indeed for that, Jim. Andy Dovell says he's losing his marbles. Yeah, he is. He is. Do you know, I am slightly worried about that, and I'm only being half serious, but I went upstairs yesterday. I was literally getting ready to go up to Birmingham, and I was in my usual sweatshirt and pair of jeans and everything else. And last night was, quite well dressed, and I thought, well, I'll go and get my gear together, and and I put it all in the back of the car so I could get changed at the hotel and look as smart as I possibly could. And at one point yesterday, I went upstairs to the bedroom, walked in there, and thought, "What are you doing in here? Why did you come upstairs?" Couldn't remember, walked back downstairs, and then realised I'd gone up there to fetch a bell. That's a worry, isn't it? When 13 stairs can erase your memory. Should I be concerned? I think I may well need to be. Old age don't come alone, Andy Darvell. Ain't that the truth? So, question of the day was, what is the worst job you ever had? Now, I've been to a chicken farm. Do they call them a chicken farm? But I've been in with a bunch of chickens. The worst smelling place I've ever been. And I've been to Grimsby. Question of the day. Dan Cullen says, shoveling and cleaning out hen houses and pigsties. That's not good. That's not good. Pigsties are okay. I don't mind pigs. Pigs, by and large, I mean, I like pigs. I wouldn't mind a pet pig, to be perfectly honest. And yes, I know they're a bit whiffy, but it's not deeply unpleasant-ish by comparison to chickens, who stink. That's my thoughts on the matter. What is the worst job you've ever had? Yeah, there is the question of the day, just in case you arrived late. We then handed over to Demi. Demi or Demi? I think Demi Moore actually prefers Demi, doesn't she? I don't know. We handed over to Demi, and she was talking about all things Demolition dozers. I'm starting to worry about my pronunciation. Demolition and Demi. What the hell? That looks a tidy dozer, though. Yeah, it really does. As I say, seen one up close and in person, and it really is a smart little tool. I mean, I guess that's one of the advantages when you think about the likes of Apple You know, Apple didn't invent the iPhone or the smartphone. They didn't invent the MP3 player. They allowed everybody else to go and fanny about for a while, and then came along and learned from their mistakes. And I did get the impression, the DD130, it's like they've taken the best of other machines, and and let's face it, Demolition, bloody good company. Looks a good dozer. Love to see one in the UK. Gary Muirhead says, looks a lot like the Komatsu D51. I'm not surprised. Not surprised at all. I mean, if you were gonna base your little dozer on anything, that wouldn't be a bad place to start, would it? Komatsu D51, Cat D4, something like that. Wouldn't be a bad starting point. Demi sounds like she likes the dozer. You know, it's a really strange thing, and I will let you into a little secret. I mean, so when we do those videos with Demolition, I write a script, upload it, and it converts it into audio, and then it puts her face over the top of it. So it's very, very straightforward. I'm no genius. It's very straightforward. But if you leave gaps in the video, or in the audio rather, she carries on acting. So whereas I kind of expected it to just stop, she still sat there like. It's really, really spooky. I had to cut it out. The other thing that is surprising is that I use the same voice for her. There is an AI voice called Nancy. That's her real name, sort of. And Nancy, it's a regular voice. You put the words in, Nancy's voice comes out. But there are times when Nancy seems more upbeat, and there are times when she seems more downbeat. I don't know why that is, but she seemed to like that. Dan Cullen says slim and slick, and as I've already said, were you talking about the dozer, or were you talking about Demi? Answers on a postcard, please. Glenn Johnson. Good morning, Glenn. How are you doing, mate? Good to see you here. I just had a thought. Haven't seen Chris Fall today. Hope he's okay. Andy Bullock says, let's hope it doesn't shake the operator as bad as the Doosan excavator does while tracking. Sounds like somebody's had a bad experience. Good-looking dozer. Being able to see the blade, I bet a lower price point than its competitors. I think we'll start seeing them soon in the UK. Imagine that. Yeah, imagine that. If you were a plant hire, and I realise this is a sweeping generalisation, but they do like to buy them cheap and stack them high. I would imagine if Demolition were looking to carve themselves a slice of the market, they will be very, very competitive on price. Could they steal a lump of the market? I believe they could, because the machine is pretty damn good. Yes, I am truly grateful of having opted for the dark glasses. I just stinging this morning. There you are. I'm not too bad, but they just. My eyes are saying you didn't get enough sleep last night. Go for a nap. I may. Ken Hatcher says that looks a nice machine. Quite agree. Nice little Kobelco rather. I make no secret of the fact that I'm a bit of a Kobelco fan, and that one looked the part. And it was, I must admit, it was quite interesting. Obviously, that was down under, and everybody picked up on the tinted glass. Fantastic. And it sounded like it also had additional air conditioning. Don't think of things like that. You know, you think of, we've already been talking about side shift, very UK thing, not so much an American thing. Maybe it should be. And there you are, tinted glass, air conditioning, because Australia, bastard hot in the summer. That's an informative walk around. I totally agree. To be honest, 9 minutes makes for a long video for this show, because I mean the whole show only lasts for about an hour. So you're giving over quite a big proportion of it to a video. But if the video's good and somebody's going to tell the story, why the hell not? Question of the day. Now, this one completely out of left field. Worst jobs. Gary Muirhead says, I once worked for a circus for about 9 years. Hated it. They only kept me because I was the only one who could get the tent in the back. Wow. Do you know, has anybody, I don't, maybe we should do this. Maybe we should, but I'm going to throw it out there. Best job you've ever had. I mean, I was saying to somebody the other day about this that I do now. In terms of proper job, this is the best job I've ever had, because I get to have a chat with a bunch of people that I like and respect. It's fantastic. But the best job I've ever had, really, really the best job I've ever had, was when I was a paper boy. About, what would I have been? About 14 years old. Up at 6 o'clock in the morning, delivering newspapers on my bike. I loved that. Used to earn a $5 a week. And I considered myself to be incredibly well off with a $5 a week at 14. A long while ago, granted. I don't know what a paper boy earns these days, but it really was. The very fact that I was earning my own money, that I didn't have to share with anyone, the fact that I used to get myself out at 6 o'clock in the morning. One of my mates from school was a paper boy as well, so we used to do half the round together, riding along, chatting away. Loved it. Maybe we'll do best job sometime. Ken Hatcher says, wow, interesting grease cartridge. Isn't it weird? And I wonder about this with machines. I wouldn't say we have reached peak excavator, because there will always be room for improvement and changes with fuel and operation and stuff. But it does seem to be the little things now that make a machine stand out. You expect it to dig to a certain depth if it's a certain size. You expect a certain level of fuel consumption. You expect a certain level of operator comfort. But it's those little things, the grease cartridge, the mobile phone holder, the cup holder. And no, nobody is ever going to buy an excavator based on the size and location of the cup holder. But all of those little ergonomic changes are just perfecting and honing excavators. Interesting point. And again, there's Dan Cullen picking up on the grease cartridge system as well. And Andy Darvell, loved the radiator screen. Makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Then we got into looking through bars. Yeah, I fully understand that. And I have to say, I understand why a high reach has bars on the window and on the roof. I get it. I wouldn't want a lump of concrete coming through the cab and hit me on the noggin. Been there, done that, don't want to do it again. But it is like being in prison. And I have to say, it's like some cars where you have a blind spot. With a cab with bars on the window, I found myself kind of doing a bit of that, just trying to get my line of sight either side of the bar. Like the way the pipes are bent around the bucket coupler. Yeah, all very tidy, wasn't it? Totally agree. And Ken Hatcher picked up on the dark glass. Not my dark glasses, but the dark glass in the cab, which turns out it was a special, possibly an Aussie special. Dan Cullen says again, nice cab. That Cabelco is burning hot. Yeah, I should have done a hot or not on that, shouldn't I? Should have done a hot or not on the Demolition DD130 as well. Maybe another time. Dan Cullen says he's not seen that type of glass here in the UK, and why would you? Although, bizarrely, I did read a spec once, or a stat once. Apparently, in terms of by per capita, the UK buys more convertible cars than anywhere else in the world, which on the one hand seems bizarre because our weather is god-awful, but by the same token, when the sun comes out here, we love it, don't we? We all head off down to the coast or down to the river or whatever it might be, rooftop down, barbecues in the garden. I think we embrace the sunshine way more because we don't get it all the time. Whereas your Italians and your Spaniards and your Australians, because they expect it, they take it for granted. So I wonder if there's a bit of that. Let's have a look. Andy Darvell says, lovely looking machine, loving the tinted glass. Finally, a manufacturer is making small machine cabs like big machine cabs. And you are really starting to see that. I did note that on, where were we? Plantworks, when we went to see Komatsu. And Komatsu cabs have always been, well, latterly Komatsu, let me try it again. Kubota cabs have been traditionally pretty good for about the last 15, 20 years. But the latest generation of Kubota mini excavators, it's a big excavator in a small package. It really is. Looks smooth on the hydraulics. I would expect nothing else. Dan Cullen says, love the way he got Cabelco to adjust the hydraulic pressure. Yeah, why wouldn't you? If you're spending that amount of money, you want it perfect to spec, do you not? And there was, going back to talking about bars, there is Hannibal Lecter, Andy Delver. with his fava beans and his nice Chianti. Lots of nice things being said about John Deere, good girl on the shovel. Yeah, she certainly looked like she knew what she was doing. Let's have a look. Why aren't we doing this in the UK? Why aren't manufacturers going to UK customers, or why aren't the UK customers themselves producing films that show how they're doing things? We'd feature them. Not that that's a major selling point, but you know what are they doing? You know, if you go and deliver them, and this is one of my biggest frustrations, and it's one of the reasons that Demolition exists. You have a major manufacturer launching a new machine, and they usually do it accompanied by photographs, words, and video. Not necessarily in that order, but that's why they do it. And then they go and deliver a machine, and it might be an absolutely marvelous machine, a one-off, and they send you a photograph of the machine on a low loader, or the dealer salesman and the managing director shaking hands in front of the machine. Well, while you're there, aim a bloody camera at it and film it at work. Why would you not? Why would you not? Andy Darvell apparently enjoyed the Hannibal Lecter reference. Ken Hatcher left us back to work. Yeah, do you know, it did surprise me. I've got a lot of YouTube subscriptions for JCB, Caterpillar, Liebherr, Volvo, Komatsu, all of these people, as you'd expect, because you know I'm constantly on the lookout for content. But I've never bothered to do it with demolition companies. And I thought, well, I'll go and do some subscriptions and make sure I'm getting their latest thing. Nothing at all. So as Dan says, how are they promoting themselves? Are they still sending brochures out? Are they doing email marketing? I mean, you don't see a great deal from them on social media. There's no great Twitter accounts from Kelp Braze or anything like that. What are they doing? To my mind, they are missing a trick. Dan Cullen proving that both he and I are actually about 12 years old. He was laughing at Beaver Airport. And he then went on to say, can you imagine saying, I live in Beaver? And then Andy Darvell brought it down to his level and said, I hope there's not too many skid marks on Beaver's landing strip. You lot, honestly. Let's have a look. Jim Turner says, finally the Americans have copped on to the side shift. What were they doing before? What were they doing before? And how is it? I mean, bearing in mind, we've just been talking about video, right? So bearing in mind, I produce a show here, and you know, on a regular basis, we have people watching from Australia, Colombia earlier this week, and so on down the line. How is it the Americans have never found on YouTube like a JCB side shifting machine and gone, oh, now I like the look of that? Are they not looking? What's going on? As Graham rightly said, JCB do make a track version of that as well. Not sure about the stabilizer situation. I take it you mean that type rather than that type. Mine was never a strong point, but I'm assuming that's what you mean. That's why the UK ones are better for working in tight spaces. That would make perfect sense. Andy Darvell says he has sunshine up here in Ellistown. I don't know where Ellistown is, but he's chucking it down here. The sun is out, not a cloud in the sky in sunny Devon. Well, they used to say the sun shines on the righteous. Apparently, I'm not that righteous. A shocker. Let's have a look. Footy Williams. Let's hope Gilpin can come up and with something for you. Yeah, I totally agree. He's just told me they had a full band practice next Wednesday, so we'll do a better full-on version if they get a chance. This is the Jim Turner penned Breakfast Show tribute song. It's actually a good song. Chris, I know I haven't seen Chris in the... Chris's was lovely, and I really appreciate it, and I still occasionally play it to myself, and it makes me smile every time. But this is an actual song. I'm going to show it to you next week, probably. I did a demolition job in a slaughterhouse once. That was the worst job I ever did. Put me off totally. Yeah. I went to... I'll go back a long while now. I went to a facility in Norway where it was what they refer to as a combined heat and power system. So these big Caterpillar engines that were generating electricity but then they've got these huge kind of wraparound radiators to keep the engines cool. But they take that hot water and they use that for heat. So they heated the local school, a local swimming pool, and that kind of thing. But the thing was being fed. Some of these run on methane, but this was actually being fed with animal waste, and it was mainly from a tannery. So it was the bits left over after the butcher had his bit, and the leather people had had their bit. It was the shitty bits. Not nice. Still say the chicken farm was a way worse smell, but not nice at all. Question of the day. Andy Darvell says, I worked in a newsagent for one day, never again. I did actually feel like a prisoner. Didn't see the outside for the whole day. Can't beat sitting in a cab in the great outdoors. See, now I see eye to eye with Andy on just about everything. But my job, and it only lasted for about 3 months between school and college. I loved my time in a newsagent, mainly because I was helping myself to the chocolate raisins. Still a bit of a chocolate raisin fan. And also, I was 16 years old, and I got to flirt with all the ladies that came in, particularly the old ones who seemed to appreciate it particularly. That's just me. Let's have a look. Both look slim and sleek, both Demolition and the DD130. And as Andy says, Demilicious. That's what I'm calling her. I hope this doesn't result in a sexual harassment case, Andy, but you crack on, mate. You do you. How come they've not thought of that grease system here in the UK? I wonder if they have. Would they have a different grease system in Australia than they have here? I don't know. Cabelco, if you're watching, let us know. Andy Darvell says, I don't see the bars anymore. It's as if they're not there. I've been looking through them for many years now. I fully understand that. This is completely off the cuff. Nothing to do with construction and demolition whatsoever. I have 2 boxer dogs. I've mentioned them in the past, but 2 boxer dogs. The girl, who is smaller, is the brains of the outfit. She's quite smart for a boxer. I mean, they're all stupid, but she's quite smart for a boxer. But the boy is as daft as a brush. He is... If he were a human, he would be well and truly on the spectrum. There's something fundamentally wrong between his ears. And if he walks up to a glass door, he can't see through the glass door. He looks at the glass. So, he goes for a mooch around in the garden, or he does during the summer, goes for a mooch around in the garden. Door closes behind him, so he scratches at the window. And when I go to let him back in through the French windows, he's genuinely surprised that there's somebody there. He just looks at the glass, doesn't see beyond it. Is that a boxer dog thing? Or is it just an idiot thing? Not entirely sure. I'm used to bars and non-bars on windows. At first was awkward. Awkward as shit. It takes a bit of time getting used to. Once used to, it's like day and night. Yeah, I'm sure it is. And I always think that, I don't change cars very often, but I do remember back when I was... employed on a magazine, I used to have hire cars on lot, and it was never the same car twice. So you were constantly learning, different ways to get reverse. Some of them had that weird injecty thing. I can't remember who was that. Was that Peugeot or somebody had that weird injecty thing on the gear stick? And reverse gear in different places and what have you. And you find that the first couple of minutes you're in, it's like, oh, Jesus, how does this work again? You've been driving for 10 minutes and it feels like the most natural thing in the world. In actual fact, one of the things I've always struggled with, I've driven overseas quite a bit, throughout Europe and in the States as well. And I soon get used to the idea of changing gear with my right hand. What I find really hard is when I then come home, because I've concentrated in America or Germany or whatever so hard on, yes, the gear stick is over here on the right. And then when I come back and I don't have to worry about that anymore, I continue. And I found myself sort of trying to put my hand through the door, reaching for a gear stick that is actually over there. JCB is supposed to be coming back to film our lot because of the fleet change. Look forward to seeing that. Just wish a few more would do it. That's an hour and 5 minutes, people. I think I need a long lie down after last night's exertions. They weren't exertions. It was an absolute honour. It really was. Isn't it nice to be able to give a tribute to somebody that you really actually like, rather than having to fudge it? It really did make a nice change. Although I have to say, and if Mike Keogh is watching this, I'm going to blame him personally. So there was a very, very good bunch of food going around. There were these little bowls about yay big of various little bits and pieces. There was gnocchi with some mushroom in a cream sauce. Nice. There was like a Chinesey thing, and John Woodward arrived. Everyone greeted him. Rounds of applause. Blah 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 blah. And then there were speeches. So Mike started things off. Vernon from the IDE did another one. Howard Button did one as well, and then they said, "Okay, hand over to you." I got up on the mic, and mine was the longest speech by a long way, because I love the sound of my own voice, as everybody always tells me. I got to my feet, and the food arrived. So I stood there talking for 10 minutes while everyone else was scoffing. By the time I got finished, not a great deal left. You can't leave food laying around with demolition folk in the room. So yeah. So yes, I got home at 2 o'clock this morning, famished. So I had to have a slice of toast this morning. Here we go. Andy Darvell says, have a great weekend, everyone. Stay safe, guys. Yeah, Andy, you do the same. It's been absolute pleasure spending the week with you, as always. Have a wonderful weekend, guys, and God bless you all for an amazing week of breakfast chat and catch up. Stay safe. Dan, from your words, let me try that again. From your lips to God's ears. Yes, everybody, stay safe. Have a great weekend. Please be back here on Monday. We'll do some more of this. Till then, have a great one, and all the very best.